There's no more Black households, no more Black families, no more Black marriages, no more Black relationships.
We went through something distinctly different than someone who was direct from the continent and coming in post 1960.
Why is it that the United States government admits to cooking up crack cocaine and AIDS and delivering it to the Black community?
Why is it that Black people said, yes, I'm going to do it? Welcome to Just the Guys podcast, where our mission is simple. It is to bring back shame, because shame is the feedback necessary to bring correction to what's destroying our communities. And what's destroying our communities starts with bad ideas that really go unchallenged. So guys, make sure you hit that like button, share, subscribe, and join the Shamers Club if you want to support the work that we're doing here. What is Black culture? And more importantly, what does Black culture believe? Because culture isn't just music, food, slang, or aesthetics. Culture shapes a worldview, and worldview determines how people see responsibility, success, family, money, power, and the future. You know, recently journalist Frank Zenu, he's also a YouTuber, went viral for saying Black culture or African American culture doesn't really exist. Now, I may not fully agree with the framing, but I do agree with the deeper point that he's making. Culture is not inherited automatically. It's formed by ideas, incentives, and beliefs over time. So the real question isn't whether Black culture exists. The question is, what worldview has been cultivated, protected, and rewarded inside of Black culture? You know, I'm asking you guys, when you think of Black culture, what are the first things that come to mind, and why is that? Now, historically, when Black Americans leaned into self-reliance, building families, owning land, running businesses, schools, churches, and even transportation, Black Americans made a lot of progress right here. That didn't mean life was fair. It meant there was a belief that agency mattered. But somewhere along the way, that worldview gave way to something else, a grievance-based framework where victimhood becomes identity, dependency becomes compassion, and accountability became oppression. And that shift didn't happen by accident. It was taught, reinforced, and institutionalized, maybe through education, through music, through film. Something enforced this. I'd like to know your experience with Black culture, what it is, and what you perceive it to be. I was fooled by those words too. For years, without even realizing it, I was helping the bad guys. Yeah, the same global conglomerates that bankroll chaos, push woke nonsense, and fund movements that despise God, family, and freedom. 97% of what we buy, toothpaste, dish soap, vitamins, even snacks, is owned by the same handful of multinational corporations. They don't share our values, they exploit them. Most of their stuff is made overseas, laced with toxins, and sold back to us under the label of progress. That's not capitalism, that's communist goal number 32. Centralized control over culture, welfare, and daily life. They already control education. They control the media. And now they want your shopping cart. If we keep buying their products, we're handing them the keys. Shame isn't the problem. Apathy is. Shame is what snaps you out of it. It's what makes a man take responsibility again. That's why I stopped feeding the machine. I switched my home to family-owned, American-made, non-toxic products that actually care about the people they serve. And now you can too. Go to switchwithlogic.com and take your dollars back from the system that's poisoning our homes and our freedom. Because shame should lead to change. And this one feels good. Stream tonight to answer the question, what is Black culture and what has been your experience? And welcome to the stage, Kung Fu CJ. What's up, brother?
What's up, Logic?
What is Black culture, and what has been your experience with Black culture?
Basically, growing up in the inner city of DC, we want to have fun. We want to live. We want to have fun. Some of us will go to church on Sunday, or half of us will go to church on Sunday. But after church, we still want to have fun. We want to watch the Redskins or the Commanders play or whatever. But the thing is that once our children get of age, they want to do other things. They don't want to hang out with the family anymore. Mm-hmm. And so they hang out with people that we as adults don't approve of, but they still hang out with them. And for me, like with my son, I guess I instilled in him at an early age that certain friends are not good for you. And I remember when he just graduated high school, 19 years old. He's living in his grandfather's house, and he's renting out rooms, right? And I go to visit him all the time. I'm taking him to church with me, and he's telling me they're not paying me rent. It's like they're not paying you rent because they're your friends. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're your friends. That's the culture.
So you're saying the culture is freeloading?
Basically, think about it.
Dang,
Your
man.
friend has a whole house. You don't want to be staying with your mama no more. So you tell them, hey, you got a room that I can, I can get into or whatever. Instead of him offering, I pay you $300 a month or $400 a month, he don't offer nothing. He just moves on in. And then you get another friend that just moves on in.
So what does that say about culture? Like if you're defining culture, right? What does that say about Black culture? What is it?
If you look at it, Logic, it's us and them.
Us and who?
The professional Blacks versus the non-professional, the ones who are getting government assistance. When I was growing up, those with government assistance were striving to get out of government or get off of government assistance. But nowadays, it's like a rite of passage.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that doesn't help our culture. It doesn't incentivize.
So if you were to have a 3-sentence definition of Black culture, what would it be?
Get a job.
They put it out of 3 words.
I'm just saying. Because I'm even experiencing it down here in Georgia. The young folks don't want to work. I'm like, we do car shows all the time. I put on car shows all the time. And what we do is we try to, get our children involved to help out with the car show. I need you to help with parking. I need you to help with telling vendors where they need to go to set up. They don't want to work, and we paying them. We paying them. They don't want to work. But you know what? Who will come for free? Youth Challenge.
If you were to imitate Black culture, what are some things that you would imitate?
If I was to imitate it, it would, I'm gonna be honest with you, Logic, it would be sports. It would be football, basketball, baseball, and soccer. And wherever you fit in between those 4 major sports is, that's it. Like I've been thinking about, I was like, if I got the money, I would build a stadium. And I would build a stadium for kids to come play their championship games, for people to come and walk around the track in safety, because it will be kind of enclosed and stuff like that. But that's the only thing I see. Entertainment wise, look, I'm on the fence on entertainment because I have 2 children that are in the entertainment business. I have a daughter who speaks spoken word. She raps. She's a Christian artist. And then my son is a music producer. To imitate this culture right now, it will be encouraging all the children, to play sports.
Terrence, welcome to the Just the Guys podcast. Man, what is Black culture, and what has been your experience with Black culture?
Black culture is drugs and self-destruction right now. If you look at reality, 90%, you said 75% single moms, and marriages last, if you do get a Black marriage, it'll last 5 years. So the single mom divorce rate is somewhere around 75% and 90%, which means that there's no more Black households, no more Black families, no more Black marriages, no more Black relationships. And what destroyed it? We have the nuclear bomb of crack cocaine of the 80s that Blacks never recovered from. We have feminism that's got our women not wanting a black man anymore, with the Moynihan Report of 1965, where black females left the black house for welfare. And so the culture is what? Drugs and alcohol and self-destructive, self-hating rap music, where they're rapping about celebrating drugs and deleting their own brother and just having sex with no marriage. So we don't even have a true culture anymore.
Wow.
And
Wow.
the brother said, we don't have the grandma. That's the problem. No, that's not the problem. The problem is we don't have grandpa, because the man is the builder of the society, while the female's the builder of the children. And the black man has been completely destroyed. You know, when Farrakhan would mention the destruction of the black man in America, I thought he was exaggerating, but no, it's a fact.
So let me ask you
And
this, Terrence. Why has it worked?
why is what worked?
Why has the black community allowed itself to be destroyed in this manner?
So with slavery, for slavery to be successful, slavery's been successful for 500 or 600 years. What makes it successful is the ability to sell black people on self-hatred. When you hate yourself, you can't. When you hate yourself, there's no way you can do for yourself, build for yourself, think for yourself. It's like the homeless bum on the street. Why? And the drug addict homeless bum on the street. Why come he doesn't have a mansion? Because he can't even get a shed. He can't even go to Home Depot and buy a $500 shed for himself. Why? Because he's steeped in self-hatred. Black female's favorite saying and national anthem is, "I don't need no man. I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need no man. A nigga can't do SHIT for me." They got all these sayings. 60% of them are gay. And it's self-hatred.
So let me ask Terrence, because this is, you're bringing up an interesting, I would say, progression, right?
Yes, sir.
Because this is why I get called logic, right? Because this is my logic happening. It seems to me that the black community has continued to adopt this African or black culture in the sense of that, what you just talked about, self-hatred, right? Because if we allowed ourselves, or we were sold into slavery by other Africans, right? And we continue to see what Frank Zanu is making the point here, is that there's no difference between blacks in America and the status of blacks in black Africans. Now it seems the same through line has been happening despite slavery and all these other things. And it to me, it seems rejection of the general way of black and adoption of American culture is what, dare I say, saves those that may have melanated skin. Instead, if adoption of black culture is adoption of African culture, and the African culture is the same, and that culture has been rooted in, as you stated, self-hatred, dependence, drugs, alcohol, and all these things. Are you suggesting that, or maybe I'm missing something? Help me out, Terrence.
I have an extremely unique perspective. I've lived in 6 or 7 African countries.
Oh,
and
man.
People ask me this. I've been asked this 1,000 times before. And my answer is this. And it's from God, because I'm not smart enough to come up with it. The exact same racism and terrorism that we face over here from the American white man is the exact same oppression, racism, and terrorism the African faces from the European white man. Those colonizers that were kicked out of England and started America, they do the damage to, they practice racism, terrorism over here. and their European brothers practice it in Africa. But it's the same thing.
But where does the self-hatred come from?
The self-hatred comes from the use of language. We're called Negro. Negro's on my birth certificate. When a Negro comes from the Latin word negare, meaning something dead. Necra, from the Latin necra. So we're considered a dead people. Like the book of Isaiah, 42nd chapter, calls us blind, deaf, and dumb. And another scripture calls us dry bones in the valley. But what are dry bones? Dry bones are on dead people. And
So you're
we're,
saying the Bible is calling black people dead?
yes. And
Black
so
Americans or blacks globally?
they're one and the same. So
So why is it that is that prescribed to just blacks in general, or is it because now I'm kind of getting confused
no,
because
no,
I don't feel I don't feel like I'm dead. Am I dead?
okay. All right. Well, let me explain it. We're we're dead. There's a cross reference in the Bible. It says there's a lion asleep in Judah who will awaken him. When I say dead, I mean mentally, spiritually, psychologically, and culturally. And black culture is a culture of death, crack, crack, drugs, single moms, single parent household. All that is death, materialism, rap music, gun violence.
Now, is that black culture though defined by black people, or is it defined by you're saying the European whites? How was this death culture defined?
It was initiated. It's promoted by America, white America, to keep us down. And the problem is not their promotion. The problem is our acceptance of it. 90% of black females are fat. 90% single mom divorce rate. 80% of black females start the divorce procedure. Black females spend $30 billion a year on fake hair. There's no, where's 60% of them are practicing homosexuality. Where's the wife? There's no wife material in that. Where's the wife material in that? 71% of black females have a have a fornication baby by the time they hit 21. Show me the wife material in that. Those things did not exist prior to 1970. 1970, we had late 60s, we had a 85% marriage rate. We had communities. We used to have these things called parents that don't exist anymore. We used to have fathers, communities.
So why does it work? Like why has the acceptance of this worked? Like it's one thing to have someone
Why does work?
prescribe something on you. It's another thing to accept it.
Right. You answered your own question. It works because blacks accepted this. We accept self-hatred instead of what? What's the opposite of self-hatred? Self-love. It's use your kindergarten degree to solve it.
Let me get to Afro Nerd. Afro Nerd has joined the show. So Afro Nerd, what's up? So let me ask, man, what is black culture, and what has been your experience with black culture?
Black culture is the experience in its totality in the Americas, and our ability to create something from nothing. Call and response from gospel. Jazz music is probably the most sophisticated music ever created. It is America's classical music. If there was, I have a lot to say on this, but I know time is precious. But if there was ever a linchpin for high intellect, when blacks were positioned to be or told that they were lesser than or ignorant or 3/5, the creation of the complexity of jazz music, which is created from Storyville, Louisiana, and is played before kings and queens, right, and taught in Ivy League schools. That's a black music. It's black culture. It's sophisticated. Not everyone can play jazz music. And I can give multiple examples of what is black culture. It's not just singling on the dysfunction. Singling on the dysfunction is the trick bag, because whites, the Appalachians, 30 million Appalachians are highly dysfunctional. But white people are very coy in not letting you see white poverty. I land a plane. I can go on. I can talk about this. I know what I'm talking about. But let's go.
I mean, I don't know if I fully agree.
You can look it up, sir. Everything I'm saying is you can look up. It's not what I believe, is what I've read. It's scholarship.
Let me ask. So if what, let's say and walk with me here. Like if Black culture prescribes a worldview, what is it the worldview that the culture prescribes? What is it that the worldview that this Black culture stands for? Now you're mentioning jazz and stuff. And one thing before I let you respond, one thing particularly, I'm Black. I'm a musician as well. So one thing about anything Blacks do, right? You know, you think about sports, you think about music, you think about what happens is we can do something special, right? I'm a drummer, you know, you used to do gospel chops, or these drummers, you know, all the kids from Berkeley that would just go 1 year, and because they can't afford the next year, you know, they would go that 1 year and do all the gospel chops and then leave school and go perform nationwide. Now, those kids oftentimes couldn't read music. And what happens, what I've seen with things with Black culture and what we get mad about is that we can do these things, but then white people can come back and then figure out what you did and then imitate it, replicate it, and then master it and get better. So all these gospel chops that people come out, because the Black kids could not read music, you got white bands out there now doing shout music, and they're playing it, but they've mastered it because now they're able to not just hold this within and just, oh man, look at me, I'm talented, but they're not able to communicate this and share and disseminate that information with others.
If your last name is a European last name, that answers the question, doesn't it? Your last name isn't like our friend on another channel who doesn't tell us what his last name is because he knows it's Nigerian. If you don't have that Nigerian or Ugandan surname, it already speaks. The question is, I'm a brown-skinned Black man, but when I did a DNA testing, some Euro and some other stuff came up there. I mean, that's what it is. That's what it means to be African in America. We went through something distinctly different than someone who was direct from the continent and coming in post-1960.
Okay, so but what does that do to you then? Like what is that? Why is it that you can't say you have appreciation? And I'm not saying you, but I'm just saying, like, what is it about Black culture or the way Black culture is perceived now that we can't have an appreciation for where we are now and move forward? Why is it that we always go back to this kind of we were oppressed and how things were, and let that define culture instead of saying we're in America right now? We can make the best of it, like other Blacks that we see, you know, the Obamas, the, you know, Oprah Winfrey's, that then they're just prescribing the same victim culture back down. Why is it that we can say we can adopt here, make the best of it, build family legacy here, and stop allowing others to destroy it? What is it about our culture that doesn't allow that?
Well, two things. One, I want to answer your question about worldview because Zanu referenced worldview, and he kept on moving that goalpost. That's exactly what he meant by worldview, right? Because see, you have to be very specific about who he is and who we are. Zanu is Beninese, right? Benin has which was formerly the Republic of Dahomey. Dahomey, by the way, they were noted slave traders. But you know, I'll leave that as it be. Ello saw Woman King. The Dora Milaje is a comic book fan. All that is, we know what's going on. But worldview from an American Black perspective has been replicated over and over again, and we don't know what it is. Our worldview really is resistance and liberation.
Now you sound like a communist.
No, you're not letting me complete what I'm saying. That's not communism. Communism is not about liberating yourself from slavery and or second or third class citizenship. That's a distinctly different thing than communism or socialism. What I'm saying is we have to be very clear about what it means to be a Black person in this country. You were enslaved for hundreds of years. Then you were given manumission. You were 13, 14, 15 amendments. We know that. But then there's a transition period from having been a slave to being a sharecropper, right? So you're kind of you're a low budget factory worker in a sense. You're working on the plantation from the person who used to own you. But you do move from that perspective to wanting more things, wanting more autonomy. So you do have someone like Thurgood Marshall, a noted Howard graduate, went to a black school, but was able to deconstruct the American Constitution to allow us to have mobility. He was able to use, not from a Harvard school, but from a HBCU, he's able to revigor or stand tall for what the Constitution means. Black man, right? Whether it was A. Philip Randolph and the sleeping car porters, whether it was Reverend Adam Clayton Powell Jr., one of my heroes, or Dr. King, or any of all these other people, or even going into the Black Panthers, that showed you and the world, and actually we garnered a great deal of respect from Africans when they saw that we were able to upend the segregation that once the apartheid in our country, and we're able to become world-renowned Black people. When Black Americans dysfunction and elevation together are the most noted Black people in the world. When they think about Blackness, and this is why people are rattled, they don't think about Black Brits, they don't think about Ugandans, they don't think about Nigerians, they think about the Black American. So that's coming from our experience. And I'm not the one here to belittle it. I think this whole notion of going into the past is foolhardy, that we can't go back into the past, because anytime, and it's just the natural things. If you go to the doctor, he's going to pull up your medical history. When I'm dealing with my finances now, using AI to improve some of my financial stuff, let's look at your financial history. Only Black people are positioned to think this way. You're not going to tell a person of the Jewish faith not to go into his history. Let me make it very plain to you, and I want you to understand this. I want you to answer me on this. I'm landing the plane. I think it's very interesting that when you have the Blacksonian, the Black History Museum in D.C., that a white president, I'm going to have to emphasize his color, he comes in and feels very comfortable in moving things around and say, hey, I don't like all this slavery stuff. I don't like all this, this America is bad. I don't like this bad history. So I want to molest your history. He would not do that. You know what I mean by molest. He's trying to, it's true. You shake your head, but this is what he's doing. But you're not going to see that at the Holocaust Museum. He's not going to be so free to just say, I don't believe this. Meanwhile, in the same breath, he wants to erect the Confederate statues that were knocked down, and he was to rename. He was to go back to the original names of the military bases of Confederate brigadier generals.
Why do you want to erase history though?
That's right.
Shouldn't that be there? But
no, I can tell you why.
Let me ask. Do you know John Marrant?
I heard the name. Yeah.
Do you know why he was important in history?
Clue me in.
So John Marrant was born in the 1700s. He was born in New York and moved to Georgia. This is before slavery ended, mind you. He was a young Black boy. He moved to Georgia with his mom. His mom paid for him to go to school. He was being educated, an educated Black boy in the slavery South. You wouldn't hear that about Black history because, again, Blacks were all slaves. There's no free Blacks in America.
Well, that's not false. We know that's false. 12 years of slave proved that.
Okay, so there's again, but the prevailing narrative is that Blacks were all slaves in this country. There weren't free Blacks. Blacks didn't get an education. We were subject to the hand of the white man. If you subscribe to the idea of 1619, if you subscribe to any of the pro-Black narrative, John Marrant was a young boy who was trained to be a musician, and at a young age, he began playing around town for money. He was a Black musician, and maybe this is where jazz came from. I don't know, but this young man later converted to Christianity, and he was the first known Black boy to evangelize to Indians.
Mm-hmm.
He was the one that introduced Christianity to Indians down in the South. Now, his family disowned him. When he became a Christian, his family pushed him away. His family, no, you need to go play that instrument, boy. But no, he went into the wilderness at 13 years old. Now, they made 13 different back then than they do now. I mean, 13-year-olds now can barely tie their shoes. But this young boy was playing around town. He was a sought after musician, later converted to Christianity, and then went and ministered and wrote to tell about it. He wrote a book.
I read the book too.
But we don't hear that about Black history.
And that's not in the museum either.
We don't hear that in the museum, Afro Nerd. We don't hear any of that. And that is part of the narrative, I think, with Black culture adopting this victim mentality, because this young Black boy who wrote about it in the before slavery ended, he was an overcomer.
Well, can I respond to that?
Sure.
I hear what you're saying. I'm not disputing what you're saying, and it's to be noted, right? But I'm very well aware, and I wish more African Americans and others, not just Black people, actually, because the adage is Black American history is American history, which is very true. But whether it was the most noted graduate from my school, right, Booker T. Washington, up from slavery,
that's right,
or whether it was Solomon Northrop, who was a gentleman that was a musician within his own right, who lived in upstate New York and was recaptured, which was a thing also. You could be a free person of color because you have free person of color communities in the North. Northern slavery ended earlier, about 30 decades earlier than
there was never slavery in the North.
No, there were slaves here. I live in New York. There was slaves.
There was
even a slavery exhibit.
It was in the North. However, the governors of those states petitioned the king to end slavery, and the king said no. And so when the Declaration of Independence came about, they looked to the other founders and says, we can free our slaves now, right? It's like, yeah.
We can't rewrite history. There was Northern slavery. It just ended before Southern slavery. Let's be clear about that.
I got you. However, Blacks owned slaves in the South also.
That's true. But you got to be also honest about that. That was, half of that was because they're trying to get their family. They were related in instances. And there were those who were opportunists, but it was not to the degree of racialized slavery. Slavery became racialized after the Bacon's Rebellion, right? When the corporatists of that time period saw that white indentured servants, Native Americans, and African Americans were commingling, and they were fearful of these lower groups actually fighting against the owners or the corporatists, and that's therefore you had Bacon's Rebellion, and what came out from Bacon's Rebellion was the slave codes. That's when race became a thing, and we weren't even really called black and white in that way, but at some point they had to make slavery a racial thing, and that's what makes slavery distinct from when people say, well, slavery was all over the world. Slavery was all over the world, but it wasn't an LLC. It wasn't a it wasn't insurance. You weren't insured. You weren't underwriting Ivy League institutions. Slavery was a totally different bag. The royal I forgot the name. What I'm saying is they had several company names for slavery.
So, but let me ask you this, Afro Nerd. Maybe you can.
I'm just giving y'all facts. You can look at this stuff.
Hey, but let me ask you this, because this still seems victim based. It's like, well, it's
a math equation. Logic in your name is logic, right?
Let me finish.
It's a math equation.
Let me finish.
Sure.
Because it's like my slavery was worse than yours. Because there's still slavery in Africa today, where they're castrating people because they can't reproduce. So it's just like, you're free now. You've never been a slave. You never experienced this, and you just kind of like, man, my slavery was the worst. Black slavery was the worst. Feel sorry for me, my group. We can't succeed, when that's not the case. We have so much opportunity, and it just seems Black culture now has adopted my slavery was the worst mindset and can't get out of park. I get it. Our struggles were unique, but what does that prevent you from doing now?
What I want people to stop doing is that when they hear data and historical pinpoints, that the go-to word is victimization.
Well, you haven't proved anything else. You've shown me Well, your argument was literally, well, our slavery was the worst.
No, I didn't
That
say
was your
that.
argument.
No. I didn't say I was the worst. I said it was distinct. I
Okay,
said it was
so
different.
why are you making
That's
that
what I'm saying.
argument?
I'm making the argument because for several reasons. One, I'm not discounting the other kinds of slavery. Slave comes the word Slavic. We understand about the different European versions of slavery. We understand about indentured servitude. We understand that. The difference with the transatlantic slave trade is that it was far more expansive. It was a LLC. It was a business.
And who fought to end it?
Well, hold on. And when you have insurance companies that are in existence today, Aetna and Cigna wrote slave policies. These slave policies actually helped to underwrite Georgetown and Harvard, which are still standing today. When you think about slavery, it wasn't just that you just owned people. It's that you really were a fiduciary object. Your slavery was also hereditary, meaning that it wasn't just you were owned, is your grandfather and your great-great-great-grandfather were owned by a family, right? You could lease a slave to another plantation. So it's the kind, listen, there's all, I don't want to say something vulgar, but unaliving someone is historical. Somebody could be unalived in a different country. It doesn't stop it from being a wrong and despicable act. We don't give it a pass. And the difference with Black American slavery is that it didn't just stop and you were ushered into whiteness. Now, when I say ushered into whiteness, I'm saying phenotypically white. I'm saying white status, first class citizenship. You were not given that. You went into second, if not third class citizenship. So your slavery follows you into the 20th century. So when
are you a first class, second class, or third class citizen?
I'm being very, very clear here. When you can see someone in 1955, 20th century, atomic age, I Love Lucy's on, right? This is a sophisticated society. You're on a bus. You could be a Black accountant. A white plumber comes up to you and says, "Hey, boy, you got to get out. You got to get out my seat. You got to go in the back." He sees your African features, and he knows who and where you come from. In 1955, 80 years after slavery was abolished. That is the difference between global slavery and Americanized slavery, where your slavery, your status still follows you well into a modern society. There's a difference. We can't get around that. You give that a pass? That's negative. That's negative income growth.
So why is it then that?
And it's not victimization. I'm just giving you facts, man.
Why is it then that it's this? The effects skipped a generation in order to be felt on the Black community. So, for example, when slavery ended, why was it? Why was the Black family more intact then? Why were there more Black businesses? Why was there more Black independence? Why did Blacks have their own transportation system and education systems and their own communities, churches, and all of those things? Why did it skip a couple of generations actually to wait till the 20s and 30s and 40s and really the 60s to then take effect? And now we have all these talking points of how bad slavery was. Why did it take so long? And why did it skip all these things for you now to have all this information, this all knowledge, and be all knowing? And why didn't it affect those Blacks? Why didn't it affect those communities? Why didn't it affect that generation?
You have to be more clear with me, because look, we understand that in segregated societies, there were Black folks that were doing quite well. The augmentation of the middle class started happening, let's say, between mid 40s and mid 60s. Like after World War II, you started seeing a gain for America, and it did not stop with African Americans, but we still had hindrances even there. We weren't allowed to take advantage of the GI Bill. We know of the what's the town?
You're not answering my question. I'm asking, why is it that Blacks immediately following slavery did better in every perceivable metric? Families, ownership, business, economics, faith. Why did it take almost 100 years? Why did it take almost 100 years for this victimization mindset and our unique form of slavery arguments to then take root and take over?
Okay, I can answer your question, but when you position it as victimization, this is a constant talking point when I'm just stating what happened.
I'm just stating facts, bro.
What happened is not, you can, there's so many other folks that have gone through things, they never get that victim, that victim pejorative, right? What you're asking me is a somewhat complicated question, because yes, there were pockets of Black success. Tulsa, very proud of it, but you saw what happened there. The Wilmington massacre in 1898 was a proto Tulsa that was worse in some regards, right? There have been Rosewood, we can go all down the lines. There was eminent domain in New York. You had Seneca Village that was now Central Park. Black people did not have the autonomy that you say they had. We were allowed to have certain movement, and then it was taken away by force. The Red Summer of 1919, right? I mean, we can go on. There were all kinds of labor union riots when blacks were looking to, when white folks didn't want to work next to black people and they thought they were getting some advantages, they cut that out. Yes, you had Black success. Yes, you had Black families intact. I used to call him Dr. Cosby. I can't revere him like I used to, but Cosby had a book called Come On People with Dr. Alvin Poussant, the late Dr. Alvin Poussant, who I interviewed on my own show. He passed about 2 years ago. They were very succinct about Black families being actually over-indexing in comparison to white families being attacked up until the late 50s. But when we could talk about the Moynihan Report, what happened in the 60s, the programs, that had a lot of deleterious effect on the Black family. And it actually, if you want to be more succinct on it, we're always called the canaries in the coal mine. That the issues that were affecting Black people in 1965, where we had about a 20% out of wedlock rate, caused alarm. Think about this in 1967, 68, right? But we would kill to have those numbers now. Now, whites are about, or even more than what we were in 1968 as far as their out of wedlock births, but they're not calling it a dysfunction. It was called a dysfunction in 1968 to have 20%. Whites are now around 35% out of wedlock births. So we have to understand that it's not all about victimization. I'm not saying that when we talk about slavery and civil rights, there was a whole lot of things that had to happen for us to get to where we are now. And even though things were better in some regards, we are wealthier. If you look at the metrics, blacks are the poverty rate is lower. There's a lot of things that are better post civil rights, but there are mistakes. Dr. King said, I might have led my people into a burning house. He did say that. We should have kept our internal fiscal businesses culturally, and then also had access, if you wanted to the majority culture. But there should not have been, we give up our Black businesses because the white water is colder. Therein lies the mistake. But trying to make this seem as if 1920 to 1960 was like, there's a lot of death, a lot of Black pockets of wealth and communities that were decimated. Once we saw Black folks with furs, you can look at the pictures. Blacks were standing in front of banks. They had insurance companies, 30 square blocks. This is the second town in American history that was bombed from a height.
So in American Blacks make their own bombs.
Come on, bro. You asked a lot from someone coming from slavery. First you're asking for us to make insurance companies. We have insurance.
Are you admitting that blacks are incapable of doing these things? So blacks are incapable of protecting themselves. Blacks are incapable of building an arsenal to protect themselves. Blacks are incapable of creating banks and insurance companies to insure themselves. Is that what you're suggesting?
No, what I'm suggesting.
You're saying because of slavery, we can't do these things.
No, what I'm suggesting is we have to be fair about where we came from and how we arrived at that point.
All right, man. Appreciate your time on here, man. We'll have to have you back, man. We got a couple of people coming on.
The main point we have to remember is slavery never ended. And the proof of it is all you have to do is Google Dred Scott decision, where the Supreme Court of the United States says slavery is still in full effect. You talk about the victim. What do you say about blacks being victims again, brother?
I mean, that's the default narrative, it seems.
Yeah.
No, it's not a narrative. It's called a reality. We're completely ruined and destroyed. Why is it that the United States government admits to cooking up crack cocaine and AIDS and delivering it to the black community?
Why is it that black people say, yes, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, basically.
Because they've been ruined as a human being. You're making
By
my
who?
point.
By who? Who allows you to do it?
by white people in themselves.
So are you prescribing that whites are superior right now? Are you saying whites have
I
that much
don't,
power in
I
order
don't,
to do these things to black people?
they have that power. I don't remember saying they're superior. You
So
make a lot of
so then
assumptions.
we have no hope then. What you're suggesting is that there is no hope, right?
I,
If whites are like this, if whites have are these all powerful and we're just demanding that they be compassionate,
I
right?
never said
There's no hope.
that. That's your,
What you
those are your words. I never said none of that stuff.
you
You're
just
making
suggested it right now.
You're suggesting it.
assumptions. I never said any of that. Now
You ain't have to say it.
you can ask me a question, but don't say that I say are assumed or insinuated or implied. I did none of the sort.
Well, let me ask. If there was crack in front of you right now, do you
There-
have to
there-
pick
there's
it up and do it?
Okay. Now,
Do you have to pick it up and do it?
black people do
No,
because
no, no,
they
no, 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 no. You,
We're talking about you.
you.
you're not letting me answer. I'm just an
No.
individual. I'm not 22 million people.
Okay, okay, but 22 million people is made up of 22 million individuals. So let me ask
I know that.
you right there, you sitting behind the computer screen or phone where you are. If there was some crack in front of
No,
you,
I'm not the
do you?
problem. Black people are the problem. I'm not the problem. A psychological
I'm asking. Let's say it's a white person and a black person sitting next to each other. If there's a piece of crack in front of both of
you're
them,
you're
does
trivializing. You're
does
trivializing the situation.
does
What
either
you,
one of them have to pick it up?
what you have to do is look at the Godfather movie and the
Why is it, well, this is a simple question. Simple question. Simple answer.
no, it's
If
too
there
damn simple.
if there's crack in
We don't
front of
need a
you,
simple question. We need a solution. Look at the
if there,
God.
hold on,
Look
man,
at the God.
I'm gonna have to put you off if you can't answer the question.
You
If
run
you
from the
if
truth. You being a nigga and running from the truth, man.
all right, yeah, let's get this guy. I mean, I don't understand what's so hard. Like my name is Logic. My name is Logic. 1 + 1 is 2. You don't have to explain, well, one was created by some white man in the forest, and I really don't like the number one. I think that's racist. No, you don't have to do all that. One, if we have one and we add another one, does it equal 2? Well, you know, the white man just came up with these numbers, and then they came up with the plus symbol, and the plus symbol was racist, and that symbolized that plus symbol is actually just a cross turned on its side and then shortened. Bro, I'm done.
Listen, logic. Listen. Basically, they like the accident said on the video, they don't want to take accountability. They everything is somebody else did it to us, and that's why this is why we're where we at.
And Kung Fu, I'm really not. I'm sitting here I'm trying not to suggest it's all black people.
No, it's not.
I'm really not sitting here trying to suggest. And again, I started off. I am curious. I'm just an innocent bystander. Maybe not innocent, but definitely a bystander. I'm an observer. I'm watching. I'm seeing these things, and I've seen it in my own life. You know, it's just like, again, as a kid, I was told, because you're smart, you're not representing blacks. You're making us look bad, and I don't understand what that means as a culture. Like, it's just, to me, it doesn't make sense. But guys, we way over time, and I did a solo show by myself. Like, you know, appreciate you coming on, CJ. It's Kung Fu CJ, and wow, like 2 hours, and my wife's mad at me right now because we're supposed to be at a party an hour ago.
Oh man, I apologize.
Yeah, no, you're good, man. But these people came on. I wanted to have some fun tonight, man. I appreciate you. So I just realized I maybe can do a show by myself, and I don't know, but definitely need to just you know, the guys with me. So shout out to everybody in the chat. So if you're new here, but make sure you guys hit the like button, share the stream, support the channel, join the Shameless Club, guys. We got some big stuff coming out with Metro Conservative Media in 2026. We are really launching the Metro Conservative Media platform, where you can all catch all the content. You know, we're going to do written pieces and articles, and everything will be on the Metro Conservative Media platform. So make sure you bookmark metroconservativemedia.com. Don't go there right now. The site's kind of broken, but bookmark metroconservativemedia.com, and yeah, just keep tuned, watch for more. But again, like, share, subscribe to Just the Guys podcast, and remember, only monkeys litter.
Out.